Most people are waiting for the world to be fair. They're holding on to principles that guarantee their destruction while others play by completely different rules. Machiavelli spent years studying why good people lose and ruthless people win, and what he discovered will either offend you or free you. Here's a pondergek. If you've ever felt like your integrity cost you everything while someone with none got ahead, this changes everything. Because there is no middle ground, you've been taught that if you work hard, stay honest, and treat people fairly, you'll eventually be rewarded. You've watched yourself hold back when you could have taken advantage. You've given second chances to people who betrayed you the first time. You've stayed silent when speaking up might have made you look aggressive. And where has it gotten you? You've seen the promotion go to someone who took credit for your work. You've watched the person who lied get the opportunity while you told the uncomfortable truth. You've been called too nice or too soft while people with half your talent manipulated their way to the top. Here's what nobody told you. Society conditions you to play by rules that only apply to you. While you're being the bigger person, others are studying your patterns, exploiting your predictability, and leveraging your goodness as a weakness. They taught you that being ruthless makes you a bad person. They never told you that refusing to be ruthless makes you a victim. The painful reality is this: the world sorts people into two categories: those who shape reality to their will, and those who get shaped by everyone else's will. There is no comfortable middle ground where you can be mostly assertive but still universally liked. You either develop the capacity for strategic ruthlessness, or you spend your life being crushed by those who already have. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote The Prince in 1513 after watching noble, principled leaders lose everything while calculating, ruthless operators seized power. He wasn't celebrating cruelty. He was documenting a brutal pattern in human behavior that most people refuse to acknowledge. His central observation: the people who succeed aren't necessarily smarter or more talented. They're willing to do what others won't. Modern psychology has validated every one of his insights. Research on social dominance theory shows that hierarchies form not based on merit, but based on who's willing to enforce their position. Studies on Machiavellianism as a personality trait reveal that high scorers consistently outperform others in negotiations, leadership positions, and competitive environments. They're not winning because they're evil. They're winning because they understand the game everyone else is pretending isn't happening. Here's the framework that will transform how you operate. There are 3 levels to this knowledge. First, recognition. You need to see the ruthless game being played around you that you've been blind to. Second, protection. You need specific strategies to defend yourself from manipulation and exploitation. Third, mastery. You need to develop the strategic ruthlessness that lets you control outcomes instead of reacting to them. This isn't about becoming a sociopath. It's about understanding that power dynamics exist whether you acknowledge them or not. And the people who pretend they don't exist always lose to the people who understand how to navigate them. Machiavelli's most controversial insight was this: being good doesn't protect you from evil. Only being capable of ruthlessness when necessary protects you. By the end of this, you'll understand why people break when they refuse to become ruthless, why there is no comfortable middle ground, and exactly how to develop strategic ruthlessness without losing your humanity. This is about survival first, then victory. The reason you keep getting blindsided is because you don't recognize ruthless behavior when it's happening to you. You think you're having a normal interaction while someone else is executing a strategy. Let me show you what I mean. When someone asks you, "Can I give you some feedback?" in a meeting, you think they're trying to help. Someone playing the ruthless game knows this is a dominance move. They're positioning themselves as the authority who evaluates you while lowering your status in front of others. When they follow with, "I just think you could be more confident in your presentations," they've now planted a seed of doubt about you in everyone's mind while appearing helpful. You thanked them. They outmaneuvered you. Here's the psychological mechanism you've been missing. Ruthless operators understand that most people have been conditioned to avoid conflict and seek approval. They exploit this by wrapping aggression in socially acceptable language. The feedback wasn't about helping you improve. It was about establishing that they evaluate you, not the other way around. Watch how this pattern repeats everywhere. Someone just asks a question that implies you made a mistake in front of your boss. They're not seeking information. They're creating doubt about your competence. Someone jokes about your insecurity in a social setting. They're not being funny. They're testing if they can disrespect you without consequences. Someone volunteers to help you with a project you're already handling. They're not being generous. They're positioning to take credit or highlight your inadequacy. The aha moment is this. Every interaction is a micro-negotiation of status and power. The people who recognize this are always positioning. The people who don't recognize this are always reacting. You've been reacting. Studies on social chess reveal that strategic people are thinking 3 moves ahead in conversations. When someone compliments you publicly, they're often setting up to ask for something later. Now you'll feel obligated. When someone shares a vulnerability, they're often testing if you'll share information they'll use later. When someone agrees with you quickly, they're often setting up to disagree on something more important. They're building credit. This is why you feel exhausted after dealing with certain people. You're playing checkers while they're playing chess. You're operating on the surface content of conversations while they're operating on the subtext of power dynamic. Machiavelli observed that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. You've been trying to be a lion, strong and straightforward, without developing the fox's ability to see traps. The trap you keep falling into is assuming everyone operates with your level of directness and good faith. They don't. Research on dark triad personalities shows that roughly 15–20% of people in competitive environments score high on Machiavellianism. They see every interaction as an opportunity to advance their position, and your good faith is their open. Here's what changes everything. Once you see the game, you can't unsee it. That colleague who always touches base right before your performance review, they're gathering information to position themselves as more valuable than you. That friend who always has a crisis when you have good news. They're controlling your emotional energy. That person who doesn't mean to be critical but is absolutely meaning to be critical. They're just avoiding accountability for the hit. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The pattern has been there all along. Now that you can see the ruthless game, you need specific strategies to protect yourself, because recognition without protection just means you'll watch yourself get exploited with full awareness. Strategy 1. The consequence installation. The moment someone tries a ruthless move, you must install an immediate consequence, not eventually, not when you've thought about it, immediately. Here's how this works in practice. Someone gives you that helpful feedback in a meeting, you respond immediately. That's interesting you see it that way, Michael. I'd love to hear your approach to presenting next time so I can learn from your expertise. You just flipped it. Now they have to perform or look like they're criticizing without credibility. Someone jokes about your insecurity. You stop, look directly at them and say calmly, "What made you think that would be funny to say?" The room goes quiet. They have to either own their disrespect or backtrack. Either way, they learn you're not a safe target. The psychological principle here is operant conditioning. Behaviors that produce negative consequences decrease. But here's what you've been doing wrong. You've been showing you're hurt or getting defensive, which actually rewards them. They wanted an emotional reaction. You gave it to them. Instead, you need to install social cost. Research on behavioral economics shows people avoid social cost even more than they seek gain. The moment you make someone's ruthless move costly, through exposure, through turning it back on them, through calm confrontation, they start avoiding you as a target. Not because you're cruel, but because you're not profitable to exploit. Strategy 2. The information asymmetry ruthless operators gather information from you while revealing nothing about themselves. You must reverse this immediately. Start practicing the mirror and deflect. Someone asks where you're at on a project. Making good progress. How's your timeline looking? Someone asks your opinion on a controversial topic at work. I'm still forming my view. What's your take? Someone tries to get you to share your strategy. Still working through options. What approach would you use? Notice what you're doing. You're answering without answering, then redirecting. This does two things. First, you stop being a source of free intelligence. Second, you start gathering intelligence on them. The person asking lots of questions is usually the most worried about their own position. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The moment you stop performing transparency for people who don't deserve it, you gain advantage. Your thoughts, plans, doubts, and strategies are valuable. Stop giving them away for free to people who will use them against you. Strategy 3. The emotional immunity. This is where most people fail. They learn to recognize ruthless behavior. They even start to respond, but they still feel hurt by it. That emotional reaction is what breaks them. You need to develop what psychologists call emotional decoupling. When someone tries to manipulate you, you need to see it as data, not damage. They're revealing their strategy. They're showing you they're a player in the ruthless game. This is useful information. Here's the reframe that changes everything. When someone tries to exploit your kindness, manipulate your emotions, or undermine your position, they're not hurting you. They're revealing themselves. They're telling you exactly who they are and what they're capable of. This is a gift. The moment you stop taking ruthless behavior personally and start seeing it as intelligence gathering, everything shifts. You become the fox recognizing traps. That person who betrayed your trust, they just taught you they're capable of betrayal. That person who took credit for your work, they just showed you they're threatened by your competence. That person who spread rumors about you, they just revealed you're important enough to attack. Studies on resilience show that the people who bounce back fastest from betrayal are those who reframe it from, "What's wrong with me?" to "What did I learn about them?" You're not the problem. Your kindness isn't the problem. Your target selection was the problem. Strategy 4. The strategic retreat. Here's something crucial that Machiavelli understood. Sometimes the ruthless move is to retreat, not because you're weak, but because you're strategic. If you're in an environment where ruthless behavior is not just tolerated but rewarded, and you can't change the culture, you need to extract yourself. Staying in a toxic environment trying to prove you can handle it doesn't make you strong. It makes you someone who accepts abuse. The most ruthless move is sometimes to leave and build somewhere else. Take your talents, knowledge, and energy to an environment where you can thrive. This isn't quitting. This is refusing to play a game that's rigged against you. Research on opportunity cost shows that every hour you spend managing dysfunction is an hour you're not spending building success. The truly ruthless understand this. They don't waste time fighting battles in environments that will never reward them. They relocate to environments where their ruthlessness can compound. Now we get to the level that separates people who survive ruthless environments from people who dominate them. This is about developing your own strategic ruthlessness. The first mastery principle: cultivate optionality. Ruthless people have power because they have options. The moment you have no options, you have no power. Someone can control you completely. This means you need to obsessively build alternatives in every area of your life. Multiple income sources, multiple professional relationships, multiple skill sets, multiple social circles. The person who can walk away from anything has power in everything. Watch how this changes your psychology. When your boss makes an unreasonable demand and you have 6 months of savings plus 2 other job opportunities, you can say no. When a relationship becomes toxic and you have a strong social network and self-sufficiency, you can leave. When someone tries to manipulate you and you genuinely don't need what they're offering, their manipulation fails. Machiavelli observed that princes who depended on mercenaries lost everything because they had no options. The same applies to you. Every dependency is a vulnerability. Every I have no choice is a point where someone can exploit you. The second mastery principle, controlled revelation. The truly ruthless understand that mystery creates power, while transparency creates vulnerability. You've been taught to be authentic and open. This is beautiful in personal relationships with people you trust. It's suicidal in competitive environments with people playing the ruthless game. Start operating on levels. There's the version of you that most people see: professional, competent, pleasant. There's the version that close allies see: your actual thoughts and strategies. There's the version that only you see: your full capabilities and plans. When you reveal your full capacity too early, people either copy it or sabotage it. When you hold your actual power in reserve, you can deploy it strategically. The person who seems moderate but can be ruthless is more powerful than the person who's always ruthless. Why? Element of surprise. Studies on negotiation show that the party that reveals less about their position, timeline, and alternatives consistently gets better outcomes. Apply this everywhere. Don't tell people your deadlines. They'll use them against you. Don't share your concerns. They'll amplify them. Don't explain your full strategy. They'll either steal it or block it. The third mastery principle, strategic alliances. Here's where it gets sophisticated. The ruthless don't operate alone. They build networks of strategic relationships where mutual benefit creates loyalty. You need to identify who has complementary power and create alliances where protecting you protects them. Someone is good at office politics while you're good at execution. Alliance. Someone has access you need while you have expertise they need. Alliance. Hanstone. Someone shares your enemies. Strong alliance. But here's the critical part. These alliances must be based on mutual benefit, not sentiment. The moment the benefit disappears, the alliance should too. Machiavelli wrote extensively about this. Emotional alliances are unpredictable. Strategic alliances are reliable. This means you need to constantly deliver value to your strategic relationships. Not friendship, value, information they need. Connections they want, support that advances their goals. You're building a network where hurting you hurts them. The fourth mastery principle, decisive action. This is where most people fail, even after learning everything else. They recognize ruthless behavior. They protect themselves. They build optionality and alliances. But when the moment comes to act ruthlessly, they hesitate. The ruthless don't hesitate. When someone needs to be removed from a project because they're sabotaging it, they remove them immediately. When a relationship needs to end because it's destructive, they end it cleanly. When a boundary needs to be enforced, they enforce it without negotiation. Hesitation is where good people lose to ruthless people. Not because ruthless people are smarter, but because they're willing to act when action is uncomfortable. Research on decision-making under pressure shows that decisive action, even if imperfect, beats perfect planning with delayed execution. Here's your new operating principle. When you recognize a ruthless move against you, you have a 24-hour window to respond decisively. After that, the moment passes and the pattern sets. Someone undermines you in a meeting, you address it before the day ends. Someone spreads a rumor, you counter it immediately. Someone violates a boundary, you enforce consequences now. The psychological term for this is behavioral momentum. The first ruthless action is the hardest. The second is easier. By the 10th, it's automatic. You're not becoming cruel. You're becoming decisive in protecting yourself. The fifth mastery principle, reputation engineering. The most sophisticated form of ruthlessness is creating a reputation that protects you before conflict even begins. This is the ultimate efficiency. You want people to know that you're competent, fair, and reasonable, but also that crossing you has consequences. This reputation means most people won't try to exploit you because the cost is clear. How do you build this? You must visibly enforce boundaries with people who violate them, not behind closed doors, publicly enough that others see. When someone takes credit for your work, you correct the record in front of others. When someone disrespects you, you address it so witnesses see you're not a safe target. This seems harsh until you realize it's actually more ethical than the alternative. By establishing clear consequences early, you prevent worse violations later. It's the same principle as strong borders preventing wars. Clear boundaries prevent conflict. Machiavelli's most famous quote is, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But the full context matters. He's saying that if people must choose between respecting you and liking you, respect keeps you safe while likability leaves you vulnerable. You're aiming for respected competence with controlled ruthlessness. People should know you're fair, but they should also know that exploiting you is a bad bet. This reputation does the work for you. Let me show you exactly how this transforms your actual life with specific scenarios. Scenario 1. The workplace credit thief. Old you. You're in a team meeting. Your colleague David presents the strategy you developed last week as his own idea. You feel your stomach drop. You think about saying something but don't want to seem petty or create conflict. You stay silent. David gets praised. You get nothing. Later you mention to your boss that you actually developed that strategy, but it sounds like you're complaining after the fact. Your boss makes a non-committal response. David continues taking credit for your work because you taught him he can. Knew you. The moment David presents your strategy without crediting you, you speak up immediately with calm authority. "I'm glad David found the framework I developed useful. Let me build on that foundation with where I was planning to take it next." You just reclaimed ownership while appearing collaborative. If David objects, you calmly pull up your documentation. "Happy to share my notes from last Tuesday when I outlined this approach. David, I'd appreciate if we could coordinate before presenting work we've developed together." The room now knows. You track your contributions, you'll correct the record, and stealing from you creates public awkwardness. David will find easier targets. Scenario 2. The emotional manipulator in relationships. Old you. Your partner gets angry when you make plans with friends. They say it makes them feel abandoned and unloved. You feel guilty. You cancel your plans. This pattern repeats. Soon you've isolated yourself to manage their emotions. They now control your social life through guilt, and you feel trapped but don't want to be unsupportive. New you. When your partner expresses feeling abandoned because of your friend plans, you respond. "I understand you feel that way, and I care about your feelings. I'm keeping these plans. If you're feeling insecure when I spend time with friends, that's something we should address together, but the solution isn't me canceling my other relationships." If they escalate emotionally, you remain calm. "I'm not willing to have this conversation while emotions are high. I'm going to my friend gathering. When I'm back, we can discuss what's actually driving this insecurity." You just established that emotional manipulation won't control your behavior. If they can't respect this boundary, you have information about whether this relationship is healthy for you. Scenario 3. The social dominance player. Old you. You're at a dinner party and someone makes a cutting remark disguised as a joke about your career. Must be nice having a job where you don't have to work too hard, right? Everyone laughs. You feel humiliated, but you laugh along because you don't want to be sensitive. They learn they can diminish you for social points. New you. The moment they make that remark, you pause. Let the laughter die down. Then calmly, "That's an interesting assumption. What makes you think my work isn't demanding?" They either have to admit they were being disrespectful or demonstrate they know nothing about your work. Either way, they won't target you again because you're not fun to attack. Scenario 4. The passive-aggressive family member. Old you. At family gatherings, your aunt constantly makes comments about your life choices. Still not married, clock's ticking, or "That's an interesting career choice." Not what I do. You tolerate it because that's just how she is. You feel angry but trapped by family obligation. New you. Next comment you respond, "Aunt Linda, I've noticed you comment on my personal life choices frequently. I love you, but I'm not interested in your input on my relationship status or career. Let's find other topics. If she pushes, I'm serious, this topic is closed. If she can't respect that, you reduce contact. I'm going to step out for a bit. Looking forward to when we can have a conversation that respects boundaries. You just taught her that access to you requires respect. Family doesn't mean accepting abuse. Scenario 5. The exploitative friendship old you. Your friend constantly needs help, moving, job advice, emotional support, but is never available when you need something. You keep helping because that's what friends do. You're exhausted and resentful but feel guilty setting boundaries. New you. Next time they ask for help, I'm noticing our friendship has been pretty one-directional lately. I've been happy to help you, but I've needed support too, and you haven't been available. Before I commit to this, I need to know if this is a mutual friendship or if I'm just a resource for you. Their response tells you everything. If they get defensive or dismiss your concern, you know they're exploiting you. If they acknowledge and adjust, the friendship might be salvageable. Either way, you stop being a resource that gets depleted without return. Notice the pattern in every scenario. The old you avoided conflict at the cost of ongoing exploitation. The new you creates immediate, clear consequences that protect your interests. You're not being cruel, you're being clear. The ruthless move is establishing boundaries and enforcing them consistently. Before we close, we need to address something critical. You now have knowledge that most people don't understand. This creates responsibility. What you've learned here is powerful. You can see manipulation before it happens. You know how to protect yourself. You understand how to operate ruthlessly when necessary. This knowledge can transform your life from reactive to strategic, from victim to operator. But here's what I need you to understand. This is a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The goal of strategic ruthlessness is protection and advancement in situations where others are already playing the ruthless game. It's not a license to exploit people who aren't playing. It's not justification to manipulate people who are operating in good faith. It's not permission to hurt people who haven't threatened you. Machiavelli himself drew this distinction. He wrote that a prince must learn to not be good when necessary, not that he should never be good. The truly powerful person can be kind, generous, and trusting with people who deserve it, and ruthless with people who require it. The key is discernment. Here's the ethical framework. Use recognition constantly. Always see the game clearly. Use protection whenever your boundaries are tested. Use strategic ruthlessness only when someone has demonstrated they're playing the ruthless game with you. Research on ethical decision-making shows that power without ethics leads to isolation and eventual destruction. The most successful people aren't those who are ruthless with everyone. They're those who are strategically ruthless with threats and genuinely generous with allies. You're now part of a small percentage of people who understand this game. Studies suggest that only about 15% of people naturally think strategically about power dynamics. Another 20% can learn it when taught. The remaining 65% will never see it, even when it's explained to them. This creates an asymmetry. You can see their patterns, but they can't see yours. This is advantage, but it's also responsibility. You could use this knowledge to exploit people who are defenseless against it. I'm asking you not to. Instead, use this knowledge to protect yourself and others from manipulation. Build environments where ruthless behavior isn't necessary. Identify and remove toxic players from your circles. Create mutual benefit relationships based on clear terms. Teach others how to protect themselves when appropriate. The ultimate form of power is creating systems where you don't need to be ruthless because everyone operates with clear boundaries and mutual respect. But until you can create that environment, you need to survive and thrive in environments where others are playing the ruthless game. One more thing. This knowledge will change your relationships. Some people will fall away when you start establishing boundaries and refusing exploitation. This is painful but necessary. They weren't connecting with you. They were using you. Their departure is clarification, not loss. The people who remain when you operate with clear boundaries and strategic ruthlessness are your real relationships. These are people who respect you, benefit you, and operate with reciprocity. These are the relationships worth investing in. You're about to see the world differently. You'll notice the games everywhere. You'll see manipulation in conversations you would have missed before. You'll recognize status plays and power moves in real time. This can be exhausting at first, but here's what makes it worth it. You'll also see opportunities you missed before. You'll recognize when someone is genuinely trustworthy versus performing trustworthiness. You'll identify real allies versus people playing angles. You'll know when to trust and when to guard. This discernment is the real power. You're not the same person who started this video. You came here possibly believing there was a middle ground, that you could be mostly assertive, but still universally liked, that you could be strong, but never ruthless, that the world would eventually reward your goodness if you just held on long enough. Now you know the truth. The world sorts people into those who break and those who become ruthless. There is no comfortable middle ground. The middle ground is just slow breaking. Death by 1,000 compromises, a lifetime of exploitation, a gradual diminishment until you wake up one day wondering how you became so small. You now see the hidden game that's been playing around you your entire life. You see the status negotiations in every conversation. You recognize the power plays disguised as helpful feedback. You understand why certain people always seem to win while good people always seem to lose. The truth is, good people don't lose because goodness is weak. Good people lose because they refuse to develop the capacity for strategic ruthlessness. And in a world where 15–20% of people operate ruthlessly, that refusal is suicide. But you're no longer refusing. You're learning to be the fox who recognizes traps and the lion who frightens wolves. You're developing the discernment to know when to be generous and when to be ruthless. You're building the skills to protect yourself and the wisdom to know when to deploy them. Machiavelli spent his life studying power because he watched good people lose everything to ruthless operators. His conclusion wasn't that we should celebrate ruthlessness, it was that we should understand it. Because the only thing more dangerous than a ruthless person is a good person who doesn't understand ruthlessness. You're becoming dangerous in the best possible way. Not dangerous to innocent people, but dangerous to manipulators. Not dangerous to good faith actors, but dangerous to exploiters. Not dangerous to people operating with integrity, but dangerous to people playing ruthless games. This is the transformation. From someone who gets played to someone who sees the game. From someone who reacts to moves to someone who positions 3 steps ahead. From someone who hopes for fairness to someone who creates advantage. The next time someone tries to manipulate you, you'll see it happening in real time. The next time someone tries to exploit your kindness, you'll install immediate consequences. The next time someone tries to position against you, you'll already have counter-positioned. You're about to enter environments differently. That meeting where people usually talk over you, you'll control it. That relationship where someone usually guilt trips you, you'll establish boundaries. That social situation where someone usually diminishes you, you'll flip it. And here's what's going to surprise you. People will respect you more. Not because you're being cruel, but because you're being clear. Not because you're manipulating, but because you're no longer being manipulated. Not because you're ruthless with everyone, but because everyone knows you can be ruthless when necessary. This is the paradox Machiavelli understood. The capacity for ruthlessness creates peace. When people know you'll enforce boundaries, they stop testing them. When people know exploitation has consequences, they stop trying. When people know you're strategic, they engage differently. In the next video, we're going to go deeper into the advanced positioning strategies, how to engineer situations so you win before the competition even begins, how to create option structures where every outcome benefits you, and how to build the type of power that doesn't require constant enforcement because it's structural. But for now, integrate this. You either break or become ruthless. There is no middle ground. The middle is just slow breaking. You've chosen not to break. Remember this. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around. You're about to start attracting different people, strategic allies instead of exploiters, mutual benefit relationships instead of one-way extractions, people who respect power instead of people who exploit kindness. You're not becoming a worse person. You're becoming a person who survives and thrives in a world that sorts people into those who break and those who understand how to be ruthless when ruthlessness is required. Welcome to the other side.